Disconnect. Oh, I hate motherfucking disconnects. I hate them so much, so I'm singing a song about disconnects. I hate disconnects. I hate them. I hate them. Speaking of DCs, my opponent recommended me this question of the day. Do you like DC Comics or Marvel Comics? Personally, I like Marvel Comics because, it has Iron Man, Spider-Man, pretty much all the good heroes. Anyway, here's the battle. So here's a battle, an epic battle, with BanditStarkiller. And, he's from YouTube. I'll leave a link to his profile in the description. Check him out. So, anyway, I do his Uxie. He leads with a Alakazam. And I'm kind of fearing a, Shadow Ball or a Signal Beam, so I decided to go out in his Togekiss. But he just sets up a sub, so this is a rather strange Alakazam, to say the least. And this is going to contribute to why the battle takes so long later. But anyway, he goes for a Psychic, but Togekiss's special defense is pretty good, so I'm able to take it pretty well. So I go for an Air Slash to break the sub, and I'm just going to now go for a Thunder Wave, hoping that he doesn't set up a sub again, and kind of predicting a switch. But he goes into Bronzong, so I actually kind of help him by paralyzing him, because now his Gyro Ball is going to be that much more powerful. So I decided to go in Machamp, because I know Dynamic Punch can still do quite a lot. And he's actually going to get stuck in Paralyzed, which is nice. So I'm going to go for a Dynamic Punch. I mean, it'll do a lot of damage to pretty much anything, as long as he doesn't have something that is immune to fighting. But as a matter of fact, he does. He has a Sedinja, so yeah, Dynamic Punch isn't going to do a whole lot of, well, anything at all to Sedinja, but I'm kind of hoping he doesn't predict a switch into Tyranitar here, so I'm going to switch in just to get the Sandstream and finish off the Sedinja. But before that, he tricks me a Choice Band, and that's not too bad, because Choice Band Tyranitar is, pretty good too. And anyway, he's going to go out into Porygon 2 here, and I decide just to taunt so it can't, do recovering or paralyzing with Thunder Wave or something. And he's going to Thunderbolt, and that's not going to do a whole lot to Tyranitar because he predicts the taunt, I suppose. But now I know he can't do anything, but I'm locked in a taunt. So I go into Uxie, and he's just going to Ice Beam, and that's not going to do anything to Uxie, which is awesome. Anyway, I'm going to go for a Yawn here, and unfortunately for me, he gets a crit on this Thunderbolt, and that's going to hurt Uxie quite a bit. And he actually totally called that crit too, which was pretty hilarious. Anyway, I'm going to U-turn. I'm going to set up the Stealth Rocks first. Yeah, I'm going to go set up the Stealth Rocks, since it's pretty much a free setup, as he goes into Bronzong. And I'm just going to U-turn, because, I have nothing really better to do. So I decide to U-turn and go into a Pokemon almost as slow as this Bronzong right now. And I go into a guy who I've never used before, Shuckle. Yay for Shuckle. Anyway, he Gyro Balls, and that still does a little bit to Shuckle. And I'm just going to knock off his leftovers, because that's what Shuckle does sometimes. He knocks off stuff. And I'm able to knock off the leftovers, and he sets up Stealth Rocks of his own. So that's rather interesting. Anyway, I decide to switch into Machamp, because Machamp is awesome. And he withdraws into Tentacruel. And I'm just going to Stone Edge, because Tentacruel's physical defense isn't too great, and I really don't want him to Rapid Spin or something gay. So I Stone Edge, he Surfs, and that's going to do about a quarter to Machamp, but Stone Edge is going to take him down quite a lot. And I got a crit there, so that was kind of bad for him. Sorry about that. But the Sandstorm's going to take him down. But anyway, up here I'm going to start moving some parts to X8 speed, because, there's some really long stall parts in this battle with Shuckle and Alakazam. But anyway, I go into Shuckle to counter this Alakazam, because after the Sandstorm, my special defense is off the roof. But he sets up a sub as I knock off. And, yeah. If you ever wonder what the record is for not breaking a sub with a number of super effectives, I think it would be this. A Shuckle trying to break a sub with knockoff against Alakazam. Anyway, he encores me into rest, and I'm just going to stay in until I wake up, because, that's rather whatever. And now I go in a Kiss, and he goes for a Psychic, which is bad. And I decide to switch out Kiss to save it for Death Fodder later, and go back into Shuckle. And what this does is stops me from being locked into rest. So he goes for a Psychic, and I encore the Psychic, which is really good because I have a Tyranitar who's immune to the Psychic. But I'm just going to set up a rest first before I switch, because I want Shuckle to be at high health, so he won't die to the Stealth Rocks upon switching. So now he goes into Gardevoir, predicting my switch into Tyranitar. And you know what? I really have no idea if I can outspeed this or not. I mean, it really depends on the spread he has on that Gardevoir. But I decide not to risk it at this point. I mean, there's no reason for me to, risk it yet. So I decide to switch, and I switch into Togekiss as Death Fodder to see what he was going to do. And he went for the Hypnosis, but it missed, but it doesn't really matter because Togekiss is obviously dead anyway. So Togekiss goes down, and Gardevoir is still healthy, and let's see. Oh yeah, I go in Uxie, and I'm just going to go for a Yawn, but unfortunately for me, he gets a crit for Thunderbolt again, and that'll take down Uxie. So that sucks balls. Anyway, yeah. I go back on Tyranitar because now I decide to go with my gut. I'm pretty sure that this is one of those wall Gardevoirs, and I should be able to outspeed it because my Tyranitar is jolly. So I go for a Stone Edge, and he goes into Bronzong. And with a Choice Band and the Stab and the fact that Stone Edge is really powerful, I still do quite a lot to Bronzong. He can't heal because I knocked off his leftovers. And he totally called that Paralyze. I'm not even joking. We were calling pretty much all the hacks in this game. Like, yeah, I'm going to get Paralyze here. And then I said, you know what? You're going to get confused and hurt yourself in your confusion now. And you know what happened? He hurt himself in his confusion. So, yeah. All we need in this battle, all we needed to get hacks to just call it, and then it happened. I mean, it's really ridiculous. But anyway, he goes back into Alakazam, and I decide to just stay in and go for a Stone Edge, hoping he'd sub. But he predicted my staying in and just Psychicked, so that kind of blows. That kind of really blows. Anyway, I go into Shuckle now because Shuckle is immune to pretty much all special attacks at this point. But I'm asleep, and Alakazam sets up a sub and continues to Psychic me. And when I wake up, I'm just going to Encore, because if I lock him in a Psychic, I can obviously get a free switch into Tyranitar. So I Encore, and I'm going to switch into Tyranitar now, and he obviously Psychics, and that does nothing. And he pretty much lets me kill Alakazam at this point, because he wouldn't be able to switch it in again anyway. So it's virtually dead at this point. So I finish off the Alakazam, and now he goes into Porygon 2. And I know I can KO this with Stone Edge, so I decide to go for it. But he gets a freeze off the Ice Beam, which, by the way, I called. I said he was going to get a freeze off the Ice Beam, and he totally did. And that totally blows, and I'm not going to recover from this freeze. So, he Ice Beams, and I'm just kind of hoping to wake up, but it never materializes. I swear it can never dethaw, and my opponents always dethaw when I freeze them. But, oh well. I did get an epic one-hit point survive, but it didn't matter, obviously, because, yeah, I ended up not dethawing anyway. But now I go into Shuckle, and I pretty much have this game won. His last two Pokemon are Gardevoir and Porygon 2, and I have the Psychic. Sorry, not the Psychic, the Toxic. Wow, I kind of messed up quite a few times this battle. That's because it's epically long. But I do set up the Toxic here on this Gardevoir, and that is pretty much good game. I decided to go out into my last Pokemon just for epic lulz because I wanted to show it off, and it's Shaman because Shaman's really cute, but he ends up paralyzing me with Thunder Wave, so that kind of blows. And I try to set up the Leech Seed, but I get paralyzed, and he gets a special defense drop, but now, unfortunately, there's going to be a disconnect, so that wasn't his fault. It just happened to be a Wi-Fi disconnect. Oh well, great game, rate, comment, subscribe, guys, and check out his channel. He's a pretty good battler. We both pretty much agreed that I won anyway, because I could have obviously toxic stalled him out with Shuckle. But, good game.